Hello, everyone, and welcome along to the latest This is the Music Meets podcast, an independent podcast show that shines a light on rising artists from the new music scene from across the UK and Ireland. If you are new to the podcast, then please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any future episodes, and feel free to leave a comment as it will really help us beat those algorithms. It's time for episode 104. And I'm delighted to be joined by one of the most exciting emerging solo artists in the UK right now. I'm delighted to be joined by Dylan Ward on the latest podcast episode, and he is here to tell us all about his excellent debut EP, Misunderstood, his plans for 2024, his EP launch show this Saturday, and much more. Dylan, welcome along to the This is the Music Meets podcast. How are you doing today, and whereabouts are you joining us from?
I'm good, mate, yeah. I'm joining you from sunny Kingston upon Hull, unfortunately, for some. But, yeah, it's not as bad as it gets made out to be. So.
Brilliant. Well, great stuff. It's great to have you here. Obviously, we've been chatting a little bit on socials over the last couple of months or so. So it's nice to sort of meet you, even though it's virtually, so to speak. And as I say, even more so, big thanks for coming on. Obviously, you are a very busy man. Obviously, as we just mentioned there in the intro with the headline show this coming weekend.
Yeah.
But before we come on to that, let's go right back to sort of like the very beginning. Really, what are your earliest musical memories growing up?
So I've sort of always brought up around like sort of some form of music being on. My granddad, I sort of spent a lot of time with my granddad's growing up. It was always like sort of like your older stuff like Sinatra and Bobby Darin, that sort of stuff. I love all the sort of older stuff like that, just sort of through him. And then my dad's from Manchester and heavily like influenced by sort of that sort of Manchester 90s scene, your Oasis and all that Carry On Stone Roses, stuff like that. And then my mum was a bit of everything. It'd be like Madonna 1 minute, Stereophonics the next, and everything from A to Z, really. She's got, even now, she's still got her CDs and vinyls all stacked up in the garage. She got like 2 big towers with everything on there, all in alphabetical order as well.
Oh, wow.
So, there's never a shortage of music going on somewhere.
Yeah, no, fair play to her, and yeah, I must admit, some of them are covered up over my shoulder there for those that are watching on our YouTube channel. But yeah, I've got stacks of CDs that yeah probably haven't really been played for some time. But hey, we keep them for the nostalgia, right? And
I'm trying to get a little collection going, but it's a slow burner.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, CDs. I'm not quite sure what the price is for them now. But obviously, if you're trying to collect vinyl and that, it's worthwhile doing. But it is a bit pricey, so it is a difficult one, really.
Yeah, that's it.
So what about like first gigs then? Can you remember like the first gig you ever went to as like a punter?
Yeah. Cortinas, so seeing the Cortinas more times than I'd like to admit. It's about 13, 14 times. But yeah, the first one was at Hull Uni. I remember we've gone in there and the support band that were on were sort of dressed like your local chavs from the council estate, like Burberry caps and all stuff like that. And it wasn't until a few years later, after really getting into the DMAs, that a mate of mine turned around and that was DMAs that night. So I suppose technically DMAs were the first band we'd seen.
Wow,
But I remember walking in and we thought they were from like one of the local estates around here.
Yeah.
The way they dressed. I mean, they sounded brilliant. And I've seen them a few times since, and one of my favourite bands. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was some gig.
Yeah, no, I mean, and obviously, Cortina's fantastic band live, aren't they? Great.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant live, yeah. Nice to get a crowd going. The energy they bring is brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. So with that gig then, was that kind of like round about the same sort of time that you were, like properly getting into music and decided that you wanted to, start writing your own songs and that was, or did that come later? How did it come?
No. I mean, it should have been. So that was 2014. I didn't pick a guitar up until lockdown.
Really? Wow, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was lockdown hit. I bought a set of golf clubs, and
Yeah.
I bought a guitar. Well, no, I'd had the guitar a couple of years. To be fair, it was an ex that bought it as a Christmas present. It just sort of sat as a living room decoration, and I picked it up in lockdown and thought, I'll give it a go and try and make something of it. And it's going all right. I'd like to think.
Yeah, well, excuse me, sorry. Well, it's definitely going better than all right. And I think that's fair to say that's reflected in the debut EP, obviously called
Yeah,
Misunderstood. That came out last week. It's already gone past 4,000 Spotify streams, which is an incredible achievement. Or
yeah,
as I
mate.
say, just been out just over a week. You must be delighted with the reaction that you've had with it so
Yeah,
far.
no, yeah, massively. I think it's a bit of a sort of imposter syndrome thing, really, when I'm seeing like sort of people from all over the UK and even sort of like across the world sort of sending you feedback and things like that. And then you sat there thinking these are songs that I've written like in my bedroom and about a local pub around the corner from where I live and things like that. It's yeah, it's a little bit surreal. There's a radio station in Wales that had played Antics last night. I think it come on after Coldplay and before Declan McKenna, and I'm just sat there thinking, what's going on here? Right.
Wow. Well, it deserves to be in there. It deserves to be heard. First and foremost, that's the most important thing, and I guess that's like an added bonus to be included. In the sound
Yeah, yeah,
filling, I guess if you want to call it that, in between, Coldplay and Declan McKenna as well. I mean, that's
yeah,
yeah.
not bad company to be
Right.
in.
Nah, definitely not. So obviously the first single that you released that was about the 8th of December, I think it was. Obviously, like
Yeah, yeah.
here, uh, uh, solitary socialite. Sorry. Um, what was it about this song that you wanted to put out first? Because obviously, as I say, not only was it the lead single for the EP, but obviously it was your debut single as well.
Yeah. So it's the first song that I wrote. Um, it's a bit of a moody one, to be honest with you, but it was sort of like the one that sort of meant the more to me. It was the first song that any of my mates that used to come down to the pub gigs and stuff like that, it got to the point where they were all singing the words back at me, and I just thought for me to get that one out first, I think it always seemed like the right option. Just with sort of like my mates sort of being hyped to hear that one and
Mm.
things like that. The meaning behind it was just the number of times that I'd go out like on a work night and things like that, and I'd stroll in at 5 or 6 in the morning, and countless number of times I nearly lost my job. Cut a long story short, did end up losing that job, but great song came off the back of it. Um, yeah, it was always going to be the first one, I think. And I'm glad we sort of went down that route.
Yeah. I must have. I remember those days of strolling in at 5 o'clock. Very, very well.
Yeah,
It's an effort to. Yeah, it's an effort to get to midnight these days. But
yeah.
for
Tell me
me,
about it.
but and I just want to mention because this was kind of like my sort of starting point, really, for your tunes. Antics Down the Local. For me, is one of the best tunes that I've heard this year by a long way.
Oh, nice one.
For those that haven't heard it, really energetic and bouncing song, and obviously the lyrics for me are obviously quite relatable in many ways. But for those This Is the Music listeners that haven't heard Antics Down the Local yet, what is the song about, and can you just give us a little bit of background into it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of another personal one, really, especially with like, the lyrics in that first verse. So there's a pub called Tiger's Lair, which if anyone's ever been to Hull, sort of the first pub that you'll see coming out of the station. And I grew up sort of following Hull City, home and away,
Mm.
and just sort of thinking the lyrics in that first verse. It mentions Daz. It was our coach driver. He passed on a couple of years ago through cancer, so I thought decent sort of and get a little tribute in there for him. And there's just a bit about sort of tips to Daz for driving all day. We'd all go around with a bag of tips for him. And then John's at the bar. He's saying no more Dave. So Dave's actually my stepdad.
Right.
He's worked behind the bar there for 10, 15 years. And John was one of the boys who came sort of home and away every week. Again, no longer with us. But sort of we've got a big flag behind the bar, and he's just got loads of like his quotes on there.
Oh,
And one of them was
nice.
no more Dave, no more Dave. So he's had too much to drink, he'd be sat there slurring his way, no more Dave. So thought we'd get that in there. Yeah, this a lot of it sort of refers to sort of different areas in Hull as well, like the Welly Club, which is like a music venue and a sort of indie night on a Thursday. And then flat 14 as well as in there, which is the flat that me and my mate used to live at. So while all these antics were going down, if you like. But
Brilliant.
yeah, like you say, I think it is quite a relatable one. I think that was kind of like the commercial song that you expect to catch on,
Yeah.
which I suppose it kind of has done.
Yeah, no, definitely. And when you were, when you were writing it, obviously you're in not just on this song, but sort of across the EP and as a whole. Are you kind of like then writing? Is it quite easy for you to write about like relatable experiences, or you
Yeah,
find it quite
yeah,
straight?
definitely. I think I mean there's personal meaning behind all four of the
Mm.
tracks on the EP. I mean, I think Antics Down are local to the other three on there. I think it is quite different. The others are a bit, like I say, a bit moody, a bit deeper.
Yeah,
Whereas Antics, I wanted it to be sort of like almost like a Cortina sort of feel in the way that it's played. It's very upbeat, um, and like sort of relatable to just sort of living that sort of youth
yeah.
lifestyle in your local pubs and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. And I think it's the sort of song as well that you could, sort of carrying on that theme. Really, that it's the sort if it was played in a field somewhere, you can imagine
yeah,
people arms around their mate's shoulders, screaming it back because they know full well that what you're singing is what you've done yourself, but
yeah, yeah,
probably more than likely what they or what we've done as well at some
yeah.
point and
Exactly
could
that.
probably relate
That's
to
the
the
goal.
characters you've mentioned. Yeah, definitely, definitely. But also as well on one of the tracks there, it's called "Don't Come Calling Here," which we made today. We're recording this on a Thursday evening. Is our song of the day today.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
those
Thanks for that as well.
weeping guitars on it reminded me sort of the atmospherics of the Verve album Urban Hymns. I just stuck a
Yeah,
chord.
I'll
It's
take
like,
that all day long.
yeah. So
Yeah, it's that my ultimate favorite album of all time. I'd say that is.
is it really? That's what I was going to ask you. Were they like a big influence on you then? So it sounds like they were.
Yeah, Richard Ashcroft definitely. I love a lot of his solo stuff as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always say like there was one album that you could listen to for the rest of your life. That'd be mine.
Would it?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a bad track on that album. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great album. It was just just the like the guitar sound that you had going on it as well, and when you're saying as well that what 3 4 years now, and it roughly or in the fourth year since lockdown first started, to be doing things that you're doing on the guitar, man, it's like mind blowing.
Yeah. It's going to disappoint you here, but that's not me on the weeping guitars there. I do have a band behind me. I'm strictly acoustic.
Yeah, no, that's good though, mate. It's good you've got different people that you can bounce off,
Yeah,
and when you're we're looking at the creative side of things as well. What is your, how do you go about being creative? Because obviously each of the tunes there that we've just mentioned, they've all got their own different styles in terms, and sounds going on. So kind of like, how do you get to that finished
yeah,
bit that we obviously get to hear on, on streaming platforms and all that sort of stuff?
yeah. But I mean, it's been like sort of 2 years now since writing that first one, and I've only sort of got like 6 or 7 songs behind me now. So I think it does take me a lot longer in the process of sort of starting and finishing a song. But I think that's because I'm not wanting everything to sound the same. I think you've got to have a bit of like sort of variance there,
Hmm.
to sort of keep people sort of intrigued and interested. I think if sometimes you sit down and you listen to like an EP or like a short album or something like that, and you can lose interest if everything sounds the
Yeah.
same. There's got to be a bit of variance there, I think. And I think especially with like Antics, like I said, I feel like that's so much different to the rest. There was a point where I sort of thought, do I include that in the EP or not? But I think it's good to sort of have a bit of difference in there.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Right. So are you then, when you go into the studio as well, are you quite open to listening to, mention there that you've got a band behind you? Obviously, clearly you'd have a producer in the studio with you as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You quite open to listening to what the ideas that
Oh,
they're coming up with,
definitely, yeah.
like,
Um,
is it?
yeah, there's a lad called Mike Boynton, and he sort of mixed, mastered, and produced the EP, and he's been absolutely brilliant with me. 'Cause, I mean, this is all a new experience to me.
Yeah.
I've simply gone to him with the four songs, an acoustic guitar, sat there, played through these songs, and then we sat and had a conversation about, right, what do we think we can add here and there. And yeah, he was a massive help for me. He's done all this sort of through a home studio as well that he's
Right.
built during lockdown. So I think there was this, and then a project that he'd done with a band called Goodnight Vincent. So it was only the second thing that he'd worked on. I think we kind of bounced off each other really.
Hmm.
He'll be playing in the band behind me on Saturday as well. So it'll be nice to sort of have everyone that actually works on the EP with me, sort of on stage with me to share that moment.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And in actual fact, you're talking about your show on Saturday night. That actually brings us on very nicely actually to the next question. Obviously it's the EP launch show this Saturday
Yeah,
at Polar Bear in Hull. So what can people expect from the show?
without giving too much away, it's going to be very lively. Yeah, we've got some unaired originals as well. There's a cover in there that's going to take people by surprise. It's a very fun one to do, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, it's going to be very upbeat, uh, very toe tappy, and hopefully gets people a little bit rowdy. That's what I sort of bounce off. The
Well,
lively, the better for me.
well, we might try and prize that cover tune out of you in a couple of questions time. We'll see how we get on with that. But I believe we're persistent. I believe it's your debut headline show. Have I got that right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's my first headline, first like sort of big headline where there's like sort of tickets on sale, things like that.
Hmm.
And then I've got another one in Sheffield in just over a couple of weeks now. That's on the 1st of April, the bank holiday.
Yeah,
So there's our two for the time being. There's a few festivals and things lined up over the summer. I think the main thing for me this year is sort of branching out outside of like Hull and surrounding areas, and sort of going as far as I can with it.
yeah.
New places and meet new people, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sure. And obviously you've said there as well that it's full band for the whole set. You're not gonna, do like sometimes what some of these artists like doing, have a band and then they clear everyone else
Yeah, so a
off.
little bit on the
Do a
side.
little acoustic
There's
set.
a new one that I've been working on. That I'm hoping to get finished sort of by the end of the week, and if I do, then I may throw that in there as like a sort of solo, like acoustic. Um, but we'll have to see. I don't want to rush it just for the sake of getting it in there for Saturday.
Yeah,
So
yeah, no, definitely. Well, and also as well, it's an incentive, right, for people to go out and get a ticket, right, to find out if you are going to do it or not.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, a question that I ask every person that comes on to the This Is the Music Meets podcast is basically to find out what artists on the, sort of the underground new music scene that you've been checking out over the last 12 months or so. So, yeah, what artists have you been checking out?
So Rosadox, listen to
Yeah,
a fair bit of the K's as well.
yeah,
Those are two of your more common up and coming answers.
yeah.
Um, Trying to think now off the top of my head. Put me on the spot. Tom A. Smith, like Tom A.
Yeah,
Smith as well. I think he's got a cool sort of vibe about him. He's very Miles Kane, which I like.
yeah,
Uh, Miles Kane's another one, sort of my heroes.
yeah. Love
Um,
him.
yeah, I went to see him in Manchester a few weeks ago. Like, he seems to get better every time we see him. He's unbelievable. Coolest man on the planet. I think anyone else could walk onto stage wearing just like a sort of tank vest and a pair of trainers and look that cool.
Yeah, he can definitely pull off a variety of looks, that man, can't
Yeah, definitely, man. 100%.
he?
Yeah,
So,
there's sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was just no, go on, you carry on, man.
No, I was going to say there's the festival Ellis, my manager's putting on, called Larking Out Festival. That's in mid-April, and he's got a lot of up-and-coming bands on there that are going to be well worth checking out. I know he's
Yeah.
got the Denneby's on there, the Outcharms.
Yeah.
There's a few local as well. There's myself, there's the Morals, Hilda as well.
Yeah.
Pablo Carrizo, who's got music coming out soon. I'm sure you'll hear his name popping up all over recent. As soon as he's got his debut single out, so that'll be a big one as well.
Okay, but yeah, there's quite a few names there that you've mentioned that I'm quite familiar with that I've come across
Yeah,
really digging and that. But yeah, a couple there to definitely go and to check out as well. I think, to be fair, which is great. That's what I'm here for, to get
yeah,
just
yeah.
much music as possible. So I absolutely love it when we get a couple of new
No,
recommendations.
yeah, man. I think what you're doing, your platform and everything's great. I mean, the radio station I mentioned, the Welsh one, I think the Newport City Radio. I think
Yeah,
they'd aired antics through yourself as well. So yeah,
yeah,
it's definitely working, man. Yeah, you're doing
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, cheers. Well, I think what I was going to go on to is what do you think of the scene? Obviously you mentioned a few bands there and stuff, but what do you think of the scene as a whole? Because to me, it as a fan, it seems like really exciting everything that's going on at the minute.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot going on. Which makes it kind of hard to keep up, really. There is a lot going on, but obviously it's still a bit of a struggle for a lot of bands and upcoming artists with obviously like sort of venues going on every other week. And I think that it'd be a shame if all this sort of like amazing talent coming through if people didn't start sort of putting the money where their mouth is really, and then turning up to these shows and coming out and supporting these like bands and artists and keeping these venues alive. There's the thing circling around about Glastonbury's lineup. Did you see that one? And about there's sort
Yeah.
of like 6 bands at Glastonbury this year, one for like grassroots venues, and it's a scary
Mm.
thing to think that obviously where does it go from here if things don't change? But I think it's important that now that we're starting to get out of that I'm not out of that financial crisis. I mean, I'm well aware that it's still ongoing, but
Yeah.
obviously lockdown hit a lot of people hard, and hopefully things get back on the feet with the grassroots music side of things as well.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree with you there about the whole grassroots thing. I think it's a real shame to when you see a lineup like that, such a prestigious festival, and you've got, however many, I don't know how many artists play there over the whole weekend, but to only have six that's on that initial
Yeah,
first burst is surprise is mind blowing. I know that they're doing um what is it, like a competition or something. I think they've shortlisted like 90,
yeah, yeah,
90 artists, and I know a couple of bands I think last year that got like quite far, and I think maybe one even got into the final, I think. But never heard anything about the winner of the competition, how they got
no,
on in
that's it.
terms of playing. Are they even going now? I mean, who are they and all that? It's very, very surprising. And as you say, I know
Yeah,
it is tough for everybody and that.
there's
And
a lot of festivals sort of jumping on that sort of thing. Tramlines Festival,
mm,
they've got like a lot of slots going to sort of like local support and local like artists and sort of like your grassroots
mm,
artists, but with your bigger things like Glastonbury, it's something that you don't see too much of, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, no, it's a real shame. Hopefully, as you say, it will change for the better before it's too late. Because a lot of these bands, as we know, they started off in these grassroots venues. You can't
Yeah,
have the venues going, otherwise we ain't gonna have nothing, and it's crazy. But hey, let's fingers crossed it does, because there's some quality artists out there at the minute, and yeah, long may that continue.
yeah,
So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw some quick fire questions at you. I mean, I've said this before on the podcast, and I'm going to say it
yeah.
again. I say they're quick fire questions. You probably won't agree with that by the time I've answered the questions at you, so I'm not
Right,
expecting a quick fire answer.
right,
Uh,
okay.
to be fair, but we'll see how we get on. So the first question is, what is the thing that you are most proud of to date in your musical career?
Um, I mean, I've set myself a goal each year. I've been doing it since like my first little pub gig, which was beginning of 2022, I've set myself like a little goal of where I want to be each year. We've got a festival in Hull, which is sort of like the main day for the city in terms of music, which is Humber Street Sesh.
Right.
And the first year that I'd started doing this, I'd just sort of missed out on that because I just started doing it. And I remember standing there thinking, I'm absolutely devastated. I want to be up there. Like, I'm watching a few of my mates on stage and stuff like that. So last year I wanted to be there and in amongst it, and I managed to do that. It was a sort of decent slot as well. I was on just before Vega Rally on the acoustic stage at Headland.
Yeah.
So that was great to be involved with. Hopefully, sort of involved again this year. But I think that day, like as a whole, and just being involved in something sort of like that big in the area I grew up in, that was definitely something that I'll always look back on with fond memories.
Oh, nice, man. That's great. That's right. And we're just talking about festivals for local artists and that, and there you go. That's a great
Yeah.
example, right there. I think I know the answer to one of these albums, based on the question answer to one of this next question. I'm just giving it away now. But what are your top 3 albums of all time?
In any order.
In any order, yeah.
Right, so Urban Hymns has got to be in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. See, I've not listened to it as much recently, but I'd have to go St Jude just because of the nostalgia with it
Yeah.
by the Cortinas.
Yeah.
And third one, bit of an unheard of one, really. Not unheard of, but Peace, band from Manchester,
Yeah.
and their debut album. Still listen to that now. I'd say like sort of maybe like a couple of times a year, something like that, and that's been out a good while. But it's a brilliant album. All 3 of theirs were, to be fair, but that first one in particular is something that I still listen to. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, nice. There. Yeah. 3 top choices there. I have to say, if Saturday night you've got 3 spaces on your guest list, you could have any artist turn up to come and watch you at the side of the stage. Who would you invite?
Pete Doherty
Right. Nice. Yeah.
for the stories and the carnage.
Yeah.
Plus, he brings his huskies around with him as well. We ended up in his dressing room after Andrew Cushion supported him. And I just remember his dog's just walking around and just absolutely stealing the show. So I'd bring him if he's bringing his huskies along with him. Who else? Liam Gallagher.
Yeah.
He'd have to be there. And one more. Say Sam Fender.
Oh, nice, Matt. He loves a beard, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. I've had tickets to see him 3 times now. The first 2 times, one was cancelled due to COVID. Second one, I can't remember why we couldn't go, but I think it was like a bit of a family emergency with one of my mates or something, so we cancelled. And then I finally got to see him at Leeds Fest last year. Got blackout drunk, and I don't remember seeing him. Stood there with the missus for the full thing. I couldn't tell you what like coloured shirt he was wearing. I couldn't tell you a single thing. I had to check whether we'd actually sort of made it through till that long. Yeah,
I was gonna say, was it
he'd be there purely just so I could finally see him.
Yeah. Brilliant. Love that. So if you could perform a cover of any song at your next gig, what would it be? You can't knock me for
See what you're doing there. See what you're doing. Have you seen Saltburn?
Do you know what? I haven't. I've heard a lot of people say that I should, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, so Murder on the Dance Floor. We're going to do as a band.
Yeah.
It's quite funky. It was kind of based off of Royal Otis's cover. They did like a version.
Yeah.
I posted a cover of it on my Instagram story the other day, and Sophie Ellis Bextor sort of got into my DMs, like sort of like clapping hands emoji. I was thinking, go on, keep messaging. It's gonna be my early retirement plan. She must have made a fortune since that film's come out, just off that song again.
Oh, I bet she has. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Oh, it's
I think.
obviously yeah, it's a great tune. Great tune. So
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal. I think for a film in 20 years' time to sort of use one of my songs, and then just all this sort of like attention and money comes flooding in. I can go back on tour again, and that's the end goal.
so we were talking off air, and you showed me, much to my disgust, I am only joking, Tottenham support, that you are obviously a Tottenham supporter, but you also said on this podcast as well that you go whole home and away.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the question is, you've got one opportunity to go and watch one last game of football. It's either Tottenham or Hull. Who are you going to go and choose, and why? Any game, doesn't matter what.
That'd be Tottenham. No,
Yeah,
yeah. Like I said, I grew up sort of following Hull City home and away. It was something I used to do with my granddad. I don't know if you know too much about the Alams that used to own Hull City.
yeah, a
It
little
kind of
bit.
sort of
Yeah,
drove like a generation of fans away from the club. So just stopped going completely when they got back in the Premier League in 2016. I think that was the final straw. Sacked Steve Bruce.
mm,
And then it was a lad that I worked with, Ash, big Tottenham fan. He just started checking me with him to like the odd away game up north. We did Huddersfield a couple of times when they were in the Prem. Liverpool, Everton. Just sort of fell back in love with football, really. It's a good one though, because you can get away without being called a glory supporter by switching allegiances and following Spurs, can't you? So, no, I do tend to go quite a bit as well. I mean, it's calmed down a bit now since like doing the gigs and stuff on a weekend, but
mm,
I've got my membership and I do tend to get to a fair few home games throughout the season. I think we're
yeah.
going to Newcastle in a couple of weeks as well,
Oh,
which
nice.
hopefully goes better than it did last year. I think majority of the way ended emptied out by 4-0 down at 20 minutes. So
Yeah, not much fun. I have to say the not I haven't been, but from what I've seen on the TV and different people, I suppose
yeah,
the ground looks different class.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
it's
lot of,
on another level.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. So, what other plans have you got in store then for 2024?
So the main goal this year, I want to get myself on like a big support. So
Yep.
we have plenty of sort of like big names coming here now with like having the arena and things like that.
Mhm.
We've had Jamie Webster here recently playing at the Polar Bear, same place on Saturday. We were unlucky not to get on there in the end. There's a few that we've messaged. I think it's a case of bombarding people with messages until you get noticed, isn't it? It only takes that one for it
Yeah,
to sort of give you that platform to promote yourself. And yeah, so I think it'd be nice to get on a decent support slot this year. And again, like I said, just with the out of town gigs, I just want to get to as many different places as I can, which is the diary's starting to fill up now. Ellis has done a lot of work, sort of contacting different promoters here, there, and everywhere, and he's really helped out.
brilliant, great stuff. Well, fingers crossed that it does come to light for you, because the tunes that I've heard so far are fantastic, and it does sound like it's going to be a really exciting year for you. But Dylan, that is unfortunately the end of the This Is the Music Meets podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. As I say,
No, it's
obviously
all pleasure. Thanks for having me.
you are a very, very busy man at the minute with that headline show on Saturday evening. But before I do let you go, can you just let the This Is Music listeners know where they can find you on social media?
Yes, so we're on Instagram at Dylan Ward Music. I do also have YouTube and TikTok. Don't use it as much as I should do. Again, I'm a bit of a technophobe, really. Instagram's about as far as my skills go. But yeah, on there you can find sort of updates and everything that's happening with myself. Links on there for tickets and stuff for the shows that are coming up and stuff like that. So
Great stuff. And we will include those links to your social media platforms in the episode bio so that everyone can give you a little follow after this episode has ended. And all that leaves me to say, Dylan, is to thank you very much for coming on. It's been great having you on. It's been a lot of fun, and I wish you good luck, not just on Saturday night, but going forward as well, because it does sound like you've got some exciting plans in the works. And all that leaves me to say to everybody else is thank you very much for listening to episode 104 of the This Is the Music Meets podcast. Your ongoing support is greatly appreciated. If you are new round here, then please hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on any brand new episodes. And if you are loving the podcast, then show us some love by leaving us a 5-star rating and written review, as it really does help us and the artists we talk to be discovered. And more importantly, try and beat those annoying Spotify and YouTube algorithms as well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you very, very soon for episode 105 of the This Is the Music Meets podcast.